Hello, my friends. It's always good to be back with another video for you all. All right, so on this one, I just realized that for some unknown reason, everything is backwards on my video. Anyway, so I used Pinata inks on this one. I used the Baja Blue, Magenta, and yeah, I forgot the name of the yellow, but it's yellow. I think it's like sun bright yellow. Also used my Revlon styling brush hair dryer with the brush attachments removed. For those of you who are looking for a hair dryer, thank you to Donna Shoemaker for letting me know that the Revlon is back in stock on Amazon now. So just click the Amazon link in the description box below the video. That will take you to my suggested items list that I have there. And I believe the hairdryer should be like the first thing in the other useful items section. What else? I used undiluted Pinata Brass. I don't put alcohol or anything in the bottle. That's just little needle nose bottle is just for ease of application on the painting. Those are also listed in my Amazon storefront thing. The other needle nose bottle has 99% isopropyl alcohol in it. And that's what I used for this painting. Now, I wanted to do this, well, I wanted to use the Pinata colors because they're really pretty. They go together really well, these three do. And anybody who knows anything about color mixing, which is most of you all, you learned all of these in elementary school, is, your three primary colors are going to blend to make some beautiful other colors. And I wanted to do this in a circle, so that's the reason I put the inks down the way I did on this. Just, the whole plan is to spread them out, have them meet so that your yellow and red, or, well, not red, but magenta, the pink, the yellow and pink are going to make a pretty orange color. The pink and blue are going to make purple, blue and yellow are going to make green. So that was my, my thoughts upon starting this, that it was going to be, a wispy circular rainbow. So, all right. Now, what I did in the beginning here was I was mostly just wanted to work on spreading out the ink and doing a little bit of the blending. Didn't really start trying to make it wispy yet. I wanted to do the wisps after I got some of the blending done on this one. You really could do it either way, but I just feel like for some reason the blending looks smoother, I guess. I can't think of the word I'm looking for it, but it just blends better if I spread it out. I can't even think. If I do my blending and then do my wisps, the wisp creates a softer, more blended look rather than leaving you with solid sections that you're still like the blue and the yellow. You're still going to have green in the middle, but if I do my wisp after, then I also get shadings of green going out towards, the blue and the yellow. I hope that makes some kind of sense. It's early in the morning. My brain's not functioning. Although any of you all who watch my videos know my brain rarely functions 100% anyway. So, all right. That is just the little, yes, and everybody keeps telling me what these things are. That is not the stump that you would use for charcoal drawings, for blending on those. This is just a little plastic stick. It's not like the paper, the hard paper wrap thing like you would use for blending on charcoal and pencil, chalk, things like that. This one, someone told me on here that this was used for acrylic paintings to pull out lines, some various things like that, but I cannot remember what it's actually called. I did get it out of the acrylic paint section at a craft store, so I just saw it and thought, oh wow, that would be perfect, because I was looking for something with a rounded end on it to use to sort of smear some of these spots when I have a hard time getting the ink to move where I want it to move to. I know some of y'all may have run into this problem. You'll notice that for various reasons, when you move your ink, it wants to go around certain little tiny areas rather than going just flowing over top of them. And some of that, people will tell you it's from fingerprints and oils on your skin and whatnot. And that could possibly be, but I always wash my hands good before I paint. And I do touch my surface all the time. I'm constantly, wiping dust off of it. But these are not, fingerprint shapes. It's just little tiny spots. So anyway, I use the back end of that to just sort of dab the ink in while it's still wet. When I notice that I'm having trouble getting it to go where I want it to go, I make sure and just sort of dab that in. Or sometimes I actually will smear it around a little bit, depending on how big the spot is that I'm trying to fill in. Now, one thing I wish that I had done differently on this was not putting down the ink, all three colors of ink, before I started spreading the ink out. I did have a little bit more trouble getting my ink to spread because it had sat there and dried, just pure ink. So it was just sort of, thick ink on there, and that's one reason you'll see me use that tool a decent amount, is trying to get that initial line to spread out and move so that you couldn't see it once I got done. That I should have learned that lesson by now, because I have a tendency to do that. It doesn't do that nearly as much if you put alcohol down with your ink at the very beginning and then, spread it out. You can leave it sitting for a little bit, go back and move it, and it moves fairly well. But if it's just pure ink with no alcohol, it's just so condensed right there and so thick. I didn't even try to spread it. I just, smeared the ink down there with my ink bottle and left it. So it was just so condensed and sort of thick right there that it was hard to get it to move, which is why you'll see me rubbing it right here to just to lift that ink up off of the paper a little. Speaking of the paper, this was Graphics 12 by 12 opaque white craft plastic that I did this on. You can get it from Amazon. You can get it from joggles.com. Several other arts and crafts supply places carry this. It's one of the papers that I do enjoy working on, one of the synthetic art papers. Graphics is a good brand to use. The opaque white craft plastic and the Dura-Bright are my two favorites from Graphics. Dura-Bright comes in white and black. Not sure what else, but I have used the white and the black before, and I like both of those. Other brands I get asked about frequently, what brands do I use? The Legion brand, Yupo, is the Yupo that I use. That is the only actual Yupo that I use is from Legion. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Legion actually has a copyright on the term Yupo. So if you see other brands that say Yupo, it might be similar, but it's not going to be exactly the same. So just be cautious before you buy a lot of it, because I have gotten some things before that the ink just did not move well at all. The ink wanted to stick to the paper. There was tooth to the paper, sort of, rather than having that ultra smooth surface that you get from the Yupo or the other, some of the other polypropylene, the synthetic art papers. Nara, Nara, the Nara synthetic art papers are fantastic. They are a little bit higher price-wise, pretty much similar to the price of Yupo. The graphics is usually cheaper. Which is, a good thing if you're practicing or just learning. Also, which I keep forgetting to mention, I'm sorry, I'm not telling y'all what I'm doing on here. I'm just rambling about other stuff. But I keep forgetting to remind you all that are just starting out, you can practice on the back side of glossy photo paper. Do not use the glossy side unless you don't want your ink to move. Just remember, the gloss side that you would normally print on is designed to absorb ink and not let it move, so that it doesn't smear in your printer. So use the back side, the kind of matte looking side. Also, don't go spend your money on high dollar brands, because they will have a watermark on the back of them almost always. Most of the better brands have that. Just get the store brand. Generally does not have a watermark. The brands that I have used are the Kirkland's brand from Costco, Staples brand, and yeah, that's the one I use the most and I can't think of it, Office Depot. The Office Depot tends to be my favorite for some reason. I don't really know why. But the inks move really, really good on the backs of these. Almost exactly the same as they will once you start working on more high dollar synthetic art papers. If you do a painting you love, you can still seal it and save it the exact same way that you would on these art papers. There's no reason you can't. I mean, photo paper is made to last. So it might tear a little bit easier, but just be sure you seal it with a UV protectant spray. I use the Camar spray by Krylon, and then the UV archival spray by Krylon. The UV archival comes in matte, semi-gloss, gloss. Use whatever you want. Whichever appeals to you is fine. First, I put down just a few light coats of the Camar, then a few light coats of the UV archival. Now, I actually sealed a painting not long ago just with UV archival because I wanted to see what would happen. I have always heard, so when I first started this, I heard and was told you need to put something down, to use the Camar to set your inks so that they won't reactivate, because a lot of the sprays that will actually reactivate your ink. And UV Archival was one of those people that said they got spotting on their paintings if they only used it. So I decided to try it. I did not get any spotting on my painting. It looked just fine. However, take that with a grain of salt, because I don't know what the difference, well, I don't know if there was a difference in the way I applied it or in the way the spray came out of the can, because there are times, you get these kind of bigger, it doesn't spray always in a fine mist. You'll get a little bit bigger spots of it here and there every once in a while if you haven't shaken your can up good enough, or if you are getting low. I've noticed if my can is getting low, it's a lot worse to have those bigger sort of splatters rather than fine mist of spray. So keep that in mind, because that, it may have just been that it was the perfect mist to not reactivate the inks. I am going to continue to use the Camar First because I've never had a problem with it reactivating my ink. So you all do what you want with that. That's entirely up to you. All right, so let me try and get back to this actual painting for just a minute. All right, I tried to get the alcohol. Well, you'll see here. I wanted my circle to be, fairly big, but I also didn't want it to take up the entire paper. I did want to leave negative space, although it probably would look pretty cool if I'd taken it all the way to the edges. But you'll see I was trying to blend it both ways because I wanted the wisps to be on the inside of the circle as well. So when you see me pushing, quite a bit out there, I had too much ink buildup right there, so I just dabbed a little out while it was still wet. Just took a little paper towel and picked up a little of it. It had gotten a little too thick. But you'll see, anyway, I did want to spread both ways. I wanted wisps on the inside and the outside. So that's why this video is so long, because it was sort of like doing two paintings at once, because I had to go around the outside, wisping, and then go around the inside, wisping there, and then go back and touch up any spots that I wasn't really happy with. So this is something I've mentioned before, but for those of you who are new, I'll mention it again, or just as a reminder, is to try to keep your alcohol, if you want that really super soft, almost non-existent edge on your wisp, the outer edge, keep your surface wet with alcohol on that outside part. You'll see that's why I'm putting down alcohol on that outer part, and I put it down before what I've blown in there dries all the way, because otherwise you'll just keep pushing more and more and more ink into the middle rather than leaving some of it on that outer part. So also, to get that, don't put I used my dryer on the cool setting, by the way, because I forgot to mention that earlier, and I do get that question quite a bit. Keep your air source back from your ink and alcohol. Don't put it directly over it. Now, see, you'll see I'm doing that there, but that was because it was dry enough there that I was mostly trying to just dry a spot, which happens sometimes. Or I'm trying to steer it a certain way. It's dry enough that I can hold it in one spot for a while to kind of get it to blow where I want it to go. But, keep it back as in your initial blowing, I don't know, your initial ink moving. The slower it goes, the slower your ink and alcohol puddle moves, the more it's going to deposit some of that ink on your surface. So if you put your alcohol down and then get right up on it instantly, first of all, you may have trouble controlling it. You're going to get those fingers, or it's going to spread more than you want it to spread. But if you keep it back, it is going to blow it in much slower, which gives the alcohol a chance to pick up that ink and move it, but also to start drying so that it's depositing the ink as it goes towards the middle. I know this is not making any sense. There's a lot of this stuff that it's so hard to verbalize exactly what I mean. I am just going to have to get on the ball, start doing some live videos where you all can ask me questions right there, and maybe I could just show you what I'm talking about. If you all would be interested in that, let me know. I'm considering trying to do something like that, but I'll warn you right up front, I it would be a miracle if I could do something like that without having the girls running in and out wanting something, because I can't, just stop videoing at that point and deal with whatever it is they want. So, there may be some interruptions from kids going in and out, but that is something that I would consider trying to do if enough of you all are interested in it. But it, trying maybe just every couple of weeks doing a live where you all can just, ask me questions. And rather than doing a painting, I can just answer your questions and demonstrate some of the technique that some of you would ask about. Either that, or another thing I'm considering doing is doing a video just probably once a week where I am just answering questions that I've gotten in the comments, because it is getting almost impossible for me to keep up with. First of all, I just have too much going on with homeschooling the girls and just life in general. But the bigger my following gets, which is amazing, I love it. Oh my gosh, thank you all so much. I'm, blown away by how many people are watching. But the bigger my following gets, the more difficult it gets for me to have time to answer all of the questions and comments that I get. Because it's, I'm still getting questions from videos that I posted a year and a half to 2 years ago. Even some of my first videos. So I now have like 80 some videos, I've forgotten how many, that I have to keep up with the comments and questions on all of those videos. And it's getting to be a little overwhelming for me. It's getting a little difficult to find the time to do that. So, all that long rambling roundabout thing was just to say, would you all be interested in something like that? It wouldn't necessarily be a live, but because I do read all the comments, even though I don't always get a chance to answer them for like a week or 2 weeks sometimes. I do try and, skim through them all. And every once in a while, if I see one that I really think really needs an answer right then, if I have time, I'll try and go ahead and answer a few things. But let me know if you all would be interested in that. Rather than it being a live video, if you just, leave me your questions, your comments, and then I'll do a video once a week or so where I read some of the comments that I've gotten and answer the questions that I've gotten in that video. So let me know, which way you all would prefer, either doing a live or doing the video of where I answer questions and demonstrate in just a video rather than a live. Because I know it would be difficult for everyone who has questions to get on a live at the same time. There's so many of you all from different countries that are watching that, the time zone differences might make it a little hard to get everyone on there at the same time. So let me know if you all would like to, for me to start doing one or the other of those, or doing both of those if I can find the time to, which I can make the time to do that. That's something I can make the time to do, because that takes a lot less time than trying to answer all of the comments and videos. So just let me know about that. And I'm really sorry on this one, y'all, that I'm not really telling you a lot about what I'm doing on this painting. I just had things on my mind that I hate that I can't just call you all up and say, hey, what do y'all think? Do you think I should do this? So I have to just throw it into a video and get your responses that way. All right, you'll see I did get a little bit of the fingers of ink there, and don't get upset if you get those. Every person who's starting out and practicing and learning this, you will get that. You just will. it all comes down to learning how close you can get your air source to your alcohol and ink, and knowing when to move your air source to somewhere else. So, I usually start out with it coming straight from behind, blowing it in, but you'll notice I also go to the sides as well, and then I'm just jumping around everywhere. As one of you all put it absolutely wonderfully, I loved it. One of my favorite comments ever, that it's like watching a sheepdog herd sheep, because that's kind of what it's like. You're actually herding your ink. So I'll be the ink herder. How's that? You are actually herding your ink where you want it to go. So keep that in mind too. Uh, you know, and like I've said before, use your air like it's your paintbrush. Your hair dryer, is your paintbrush handle. The air coming out of it is your brush. You just have to learn to use it. It's just a different tool, and every tool has different techniques that you have to learn to use it. Stop thinking about it as you're using a hair dryer. You know, think about it as this is your painting tool. This is an air tool for painting. It's not a hair dryer. Well, it is, but you know what I mean. Anyhow, and just practice with it sort of with that frame of mind, that it's just another tool to use. You just have to learn the proper way to use that tool. It's just like, if you're trying to hammer a nail and you don't have a clue what you're doing, you've got to learn your aim, so you're not missing the head of the nail all the time. Same thing here. You've just got to learn exactly where this needs to go for what you want to do. And while that makes it sound really easy, I know it's simple to say it, but I totally understand it's not simple to do it, because I was learning at one point, and it was incredibly frustrating to me and it still is, because I still do get those little fingers of ink, and it just frustrates me. Or the ink doesn't go exactly where I want it to go, and that bugs me too, but you just have to kind of chill about it and listen to the ink and do what the ink wants. And I've said this before, and I know it sounds a little weird, but it really is true that you really do have to kind of listen to the inks. There are times that I don't care how much you try, you're not going to be able to get the ink to do exactly what you want it to do. So you have to, if you continue to try to force it to do something that it doesn't want to do, you're going to end up with a big hot mess. And you just have to, work on it and practice with it. Sorry about that. I accidentally hit the stop button on the video. Okay, so now I'm done lecturing you all on listening to your inks. All right, so here I over blended on this. I really overworked some stuff here. So I did go back and try to add a little more brass in a couple of spots where I just, it pretty much had lost all of the brass. Now, even if you overwork your brass, it'll still look pretty. You'll get this just pretty sheen to your ink, but you will not have that gold, the little gold flakes and lines that you want. That was the one thing about this one that I really wasn't happy with. That and the fact that I cannot make a perfect circle while doing this. But you do need to be careful about overworking when you're using brass if you want to make sure you still have some actual brass color, gold color in the end. Because otherwise you will you'll blend it so thoroughly with your ink that it basically becomes part of the ink color rather than having the gold sheen to it. Here, on part of it, well, I was just trying to push in a spot or two as well that was making it look even more lopsided. I did spend quite a bit of time on this one trying to even it up. I'm not sure, if I could have drawn a circle on my paper, I think I would have done better. And I actually thought about that at first, but there's just no way that I could have done it and it not been visible in the end. Because, if you use inks, obviously you're going to lose your circle as you work your ink, which is going to throw you off anyway. But it doesn't really matter, if it's an exact perfect circle, that's fine. I'm happy with it. There were just a few little things that for me that didn't turn out exactly the way that I wanted to, but I'm pretty sure I've never had a painting that did turn out exactly the way that I wanted it to. So, that's just part of it. This is abstract, and when you're doing something abstract, that's what it is. It's abstract. So it's not very often, especially if you're working with any fluid medium. I mean, you might as well give up on making it look exactly like what the picture you have in your head is. You can get close a lot of times, and sometimes you can actually get better than what you had imagined, but it's really difficult to get it to look exactly the way that you originally imagined it in your head. So there, I was trying to blend a little bit better too. So I put down the brass, and then I ended up having to blend more because I had this almost bare section between the green and yellow. Rather than the green sort of fading into the yellow with a yellowish green color, it had gotten almost bare with the way that I had done it there. So I did have to fix that, and then I had to go, have to fix it between the blue and the green, and I felt like I did a lot of fixing and repair work on this one. It was, I had never tried to, I've done paintings before where I was wisping from both directions, but I didn't want to leave a line in the middle of my color. If you've seen a lot of my paintings, I'll have that sort of dark line of ink that builds up in the center, and I really didn't want that on this. Now, I still ended up with sort of a thicker area of ink in the center, but I tried to keep that area spread out a little more rather than having one thin, more solid, darker line that went all the way around. I hope that makes some sort of sense to you all. So that's part of what I was using this blending tool for, was to try to keep the ink from building up. Let me think how to put this. When you're trying to create that thin line, you're going to want one little finger of ink, and you're going to run it down the center sort of as close as you can get to wherever you want to keep that line going all the way through your painting. So on this, I didn't want that little finger of ink, and so as it started building up at the end, I did sort of have to spread it a little to make sure that it didn't dry right there into just a hard point or a hard line of ink in that spot. I hope you all understand sort of what I'm saying there. And that was part of how I got things overworked a little bit, was trying to get rid of some of the darker lines that had built up in the center. So, and a lot of it, as I watch this, as I'm going back and doing this voiceover, there's a lot of it that I don't even see on the video. It's like, why did I do that? I don't even understand why I was working on a certain part. But, when my face is right up in the painting, I see stuff that I don't even notice when I go back and watch a video of it. I've actually watched some videos of mine, of especially some of the earlier videos that I did, where there were times that I was just thinking, oh my goodness, you idiot, why didn't you just stop? That looked gorgeous, just like it was. And then I just kept working on it and ended up, making it into something that I didn't even really care for. So, don't you, yeah, try not to work your painting to death, too, because you really can. If you keep on trying to fix too many things, you're going to lose everything that you loved about it. So, just be careful with that. So every part that I blended, I was having to, or every part that I tried to go ahead and move, fix, whatever the heck I was doing there, I did end up having to do more blending into the colors beside of it. And, I did definitely get this one overworked. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm happy with the way it turned out in the end. Wasn't exactly what I was going for, but it's also, not horrible. And I love the rainbow colors. I think that it's just amazing what you can do with 3 colors. And just with those 3 colors, I mean, I could have created a whole lot of more shades than what I did. So it's something to keep in mind. If you're starting out, you don't want to spend a ton on ink. 3 colors, blue, pink, and yellow. And I say pink because if you go with, well, you could go with red, but you're going to end up with a lot, I don't know, maybe darker colors than you want. Not sure. Just, go with, if you like lighter colors, go with more pastel. If you like darker colors, go with the, more like a darker navy-ish blue and a red and a yellow, bright yellow. So that's, 3 bottles of ink and 1 bottle of isopropyl alcohol. Just make sure it's 91% or higher, preferably higher. I have used 91% for a long time, but I did feel like I started getting a little bit better results when I switched to the 99. I feel like I was getting having less problems with the little moisture spots on my painting, because that was coming largely from the water that's added to the isopropyl. So whatever your percentage is, like if you have 91% isopropyl, it's also 9% water. So the lower the water volume is in your isopropyl, the better it's going to work for this. And you don't have to get medical grade. You can use industrial grade. This is weird, and maybe it's just me, but I do feel like the medical grade works a little bit better. But I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just me. Right now, I have been using industrial grade for quite a while, and it's been working excellent. But there are times I just feel like the medical grade, I don't know why, like it just moves the stuff more smoothly. I don't know. I think maybe it's just something weird in my head. So, because I'm pretty sure there's not really any difference other than the medical grade is, just more safe for body use. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what body you should really have for 99% isopropyl. So I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. Anyway, just make sure your isopropyl is 91% or higher alcohol. Do not use like the green rubbing alcohol. Well, first of all, I think it's only about 70% or lower. alcohol, but that's not, it's the water volume's way too high. Plus it has some other additives to it, so it's not gonna to work as well. So I'm trying to think if there's just anything else right now to make sure to mention to you. When you're using a color like yellow, be sure you go easy on your brass. Yellow, well, any pastel color, the more translucent your color is, the more pastel it is, the easier the brass is going to show up under it where you don't want it to show up. I don't even know how to, it's going to make your ink look darker. You can see it on the yellow here. It makes the ink look darker. So your darker colors, you don't really notice it, but on the lighter colors you do. And it will also, you can see the little deposits of brass that did manage to sink, because some of it will, not all of it's going to move and float. And the lighter your colors, you know, the more you're going to see that deposit of just little speckles, like a dusting of brass underneath it, which looks beautiful from some angles, and other angles it sort of looks like you just took some superfine sand and spread it across your paper somewhere. So be cautious of that when you're using pastel colors. And this is just me trying to, fix thick spots of ink in the middle right there. I think I had finally gotten to the point where I realized, you know, when I quit on this painting, I realized that if I didn't quit, I was going to completely ruin it if I didn't quit messing with it. And, you know, if you look for problems, you're going to find them. So stop looking for them. You know, that's just, you know, you glance at your painting and it looks good, leave it alone. Stop looking for specific problems, because that's how I mess things up, is when I start looking for certain problems. It's, I don't know, it's a weird thing. It's kind of like there's been times I've been really unhappy with a painting and just left it alone, walked out of the room, you know, come back the next day to it and look at it and think, oh, wow, that's actually really pretty. So I need to not do anything to that. So that's, you know, just remember that. And sometimes it's much, much better to walk away, give it some time, go back and look at it again, and, you know, see if you really do need to work on anything, or if you're better off to just leave it alone like it is. So this is going to be wrapped up here very shortly. So let me just say again, thank you to all of you who have been watching. I really, really appreciate it. And especially thank you to you all who have already bought some of the merchandise that I have listed now. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, some of it will be shown underneath each video. Or if you go to my channel's homepage, there is now a tab that says Store on there, and you can click on that and see some of it. If they're under each listing, there is a little thing that says View on Spring. So if you go to Spring, there is a whole lot of things listed on there. So just, you know, give it a check it out if you're interested. It's some of it says Artfully Abstract on it, because you know, the name of my particular business. So, but not much of it. Most of it is just other merchandise, and it is all based on paintings that I have done. So, all right, well, I hope you all enjoyed this. I'm going to pick back up with my outro here in just a second. All right, so there you go. There's an example of what you can do with just 3 colors. I mean, there is so much shading in here. I really did overwork it. I mean, there were some areas I could have left alone, but I just didn't. And I probably should have used or could have used a little more brass in it, but a lot of the brass is sort of just blended in with the ink due to the over shading that I did on it, or over blending. And that is an issue that you'll have. And that, you know, is why you end up with some of the really thicker, dark spots here and there, is just due to over blending. And your brass will, you know, where it blends in with it. So, all right, well, there you go. I hope you all enjoyed this. I'm pretty happy with it. I think, you know, you can get some absolutely beautiful colors. And it's, yeah, just another example of something that you can do with your alcohol ink. All right, well, I hope y'all enjoyed it. And I love all of you. And I will be back again soon with something else for you. Y'all have a great day. Bye.